Hi, everyone. My name is John Faulkner, and I'm your host of the Smarter Systems, Better Care podcast. I'm here today with Dr. Martin Moore-Ede. He is the director of the Circadian Light Research Center and a leading expert on how light impacts human health and performance. Thank you for joining us today.
Delighted to be with you, John.
And just to get us started, tell us a bit about your background.
Well, I've had a 40-year history looking at how light impacts health. One of the major ways it does it is through the circadian clocks in the human body, which are synchronized by light coming in through the eyes. And I really got to be aware of this when I was a surgical intern after I graduated out of medical school, working those 36-hour shifts under bright fluorescent lights at that time, and finding I was fatigued, making errors, not feeling well, and so forth, like everybody else. And I took a detour after finishing that part of my surgical residency to do a PhD at Harvard Medical School, and then a postdoctoral in the surgical department, researching on how light affects the circadian clock. And in fact, at that time, the human circadian clock had not been identified. I joined the faculty of Harvard Medical School as a professor, built a lab. We identified where the clock was in the human brain, how it was synchronized by light, and then how disruptions to the pattern, in other words, getting the wrong light at the wrong time, is causing ill health, fatigue, all sorts of sleep disorders, immune disorders, and so forth. And I built a consulting firm applying that knowledge into industry. And then more recently, it became very clear that the lights we use today, particularly the LED lights, are causing all sorts of illness. And the question was, what can we do about it? And the answer was, you can't switch off the lights because people have to work in the evenings at night. You can't stop working in the evenings at night. All sorts of businesses and industries rely on that. But we found the breakthrough, and the breakthrough was that actually it was only a very narrow part of the light color spectrum in the blue part of the spectrum, the sky blue color actually, which was responsible for this problem. And that enabled us to start developing lights to solve the problem, because now we could produce normal, good, visible lights, but without the harmful part of the spectrum.
Specifically, like in your business, your consulting firm, what solutions do you provide for your clients?
Well, the firm Circadian, named obviously after the circadian clock, has offices around the world, in Australia, Japan, Europe, elsewhere. What we do is how to deal with people, or how to support people, critical employees who are working those shifts around the clock in 24/7. So that might be, how do you keep the pilots in American Airlines awake as they're flying international routes? How do you deal with the offshore rigs of the major oil companies? How do you deal with manufacturing plants, mines, all sorts of things? So we work across them, and typically it's to do with how you staff them, the right type of training of those people, how you schedule them, and then how do you manage that risk? And one of the key parts of risk, and that's more recent, has been, what lights do you use when do you have the same light shining 24/7? Or do you need to modulate it by the time of day, so-called circadian lighting? So it's a multi-solution approach, but we've been doing this in the Circadian Company for 42 years now, since it was founded. Well, the key issues are absenteeism is too high. That's because people are getting sick. Turnover is high because people can't handle the job. Productivity is reduced because people are fatigued and not working well, and people are making errors. Accidents and injuries, and then also health problems. And so any one place might come in with a different issue. So, but those are typically the sort of things, and those are big cost items. It costs probably $15,000 a year per employee, those types of costs. And you get huge benefits. You can improve productivity, improve safety, improve morale, reduce absenteeism, reduce turnover. And we've done all of those. And it's sort of multi-million-dollar savings when you go in and fix those problems, basically saying, look, we've got to design workplaces and work schedules that are fit for humans. We're not machines that run the same way 24/7. We are different night and day.
And as they approach you as well, you're working through these issues, where do you find you're spending the most energy to try to resolve what you're encountering?
Well, I think, first of all, a lot of it is educating people as to what's available and the opportunity. People need to be educated in the risk, but they also need to be educated in the possible. One of the key things we developed over the years is a win-win strategy. This really only works if you have the employees fully engaged as well as the management. In other words, there are big bonuses for the management in getting these things fixed, but there are also very direct benefits to the employees. And that is a process of selling the WIFMs. What's in it for me? It's the same end result, but the proposition to someone who's working those shifts is you'll feel so much better if you get more sleep, feel less fatigued, you'll be safer driving in and out of work, your mood will be better, and you'll enjoy your days off better if we can help you adjust with the proper schedules and proper training and everything else. To the management is, look, some of these big things that are eating into your bottom line it's the quality of your, it might be a quality issue on the line, too many errors coming through the line. It might be a safety issue, you're having accidents and spills or other problems going on, or it might be an absenteeism. All these things are very costly, and we often get into very contentious unionized situations, but we're able to talk to the union leadership as well as the membership on the benefits to them, and we get to talk to the management. And one of the things we love to find out is the unions say, this is great, but the management will never go for it, and the management say, this is great, but the unions will never buy into this. And
Yeah.
And we've worked our way through major strikes. The whole place, like one of the Canadian railroads, was in a major strike. This project kept on going. Everything else shut down because of the mutual win-win benefit. So it's very satisfying, actually, because, when we walk away from a place, we've got people healthier and happier, and we got the business running better with more coming to the bottom line. It's one of the few things you can do that can actually solve all of that at the same time. But it's really understanding you've got to focus on the people and the health of the people and the ability of the people to function.
And in your experience too, it sounds like you've been in this specific industry, of light and sleep and circadian rhythms for 40 plus years. So what's one shift in this industry that most leaders are not paying enough attention to, even to this day? Maybe something when you started, you saw something come up that maybe just is not going away.
Well, clearly night shifts, and particularly the rate of, some of the major errors and major accidents of our time, over the last 40 years. Exxon Valdez, Chernobyl, the Bhopal chemical spill, 3 Mile Island, all occurred in the night shift with fatigued people. So, fatigue is a huge issue. And fatigue is a major contributor to track accidents and to railroad accidents and to aviation errors and accidents. So we certainly, one of the core things is the fatigue. And in fact, what we've invented over the years are fatigue risk management systems where it's a comprehensive approach to really nail down all those issues that are contributing to the problem. It's not just fixing one thing, you have to fix multiple things. But what we can do is radically change how business is run. And so, say this is something we've been doing internationally now, whether it's, copper mines in Australia or we've worked in almost every continent of the world with these projects. And we've worked under extreme conditions above the Arctic Circle and elsewhere in the world. Our people have been almost everywhere. It's a great job, by the way. People love our job because you get to see, how potato chips are made and how computer chips are made and how, and everything else in between.
Yeah, it sounds like a vast amount of different experiences that you're encountering. As for I know every client is different, but how long does it usually take to see results from your work that you do with people? And just an example would be like fatigue or like chronic fatigue.
Yeah, usually it's a process that will take 2 or 3 months to put in all the things in place between there's the stage of, and some projects take longer, of course. If it's across a whole system, like a railroad or an international airline, you're going to work systematically from location to location, and then the project takes longer. But let's say there is a manufacturing plant, one of the large Japanese manufacturing plants we were in with 1,000 workers, and we were saving tens of millions of dollars. Now that project took about 4 months to implement, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what's your structuring model for pricing, do you base it on ROI, or how does it work? So it works both ways for you and your clients. If you don't mind talking about that, just in case people want to engage with you and work with you after the podcast.
Absolutely. We do it on a fixed fee basis. We find that is a much fewer issues there. Trouble with billable hours, like an attorney, people start getting cold feet as it goes forward or whatever else. But we believe in saying, look, this is a fixed price. We can deliver it for this. Now, if as we get into it, the scope changes, then we'll adjust. But basically, we say, yes, there's a fixed price so people know what we're doing, and stage payments, initial start-off payment, a midway payment sometimes, and then a completion payment, and make it very simple. And that usually works well. People like to have something they can budget and know exactly what they're going to get into. And we've got a very skilled team of people who are able to deliver this anywhere. We like to say, you've got a crisis, you need us there. We can, what time on Monday morning do you want us to be there?
Yeah, that's amazing. You can respond that quickly. And as you're working with clients, like where do things tend to run into bottlenecks or barriers as you're working with them?
Well, I think the first issue is if there's some other major, some people say, well, you've had a major accident on the site. Well, and it appears to be related to fatigue. You may need to wait a while because you need to sort through the legal issues and everything else. It may not be possible to get right into something, of that. Or, the union contract negotiations, sometimes can slow things down, when there's some other major issue on the table. But most of the time, we can work around all those issues. And of course, also people find how many projects is the local management team at a site got on their plate, at any one time. But basically, this is a pretty high priority thing. It's very straightforward. At least, it is. We've done it so many times. We know the ropes and how to do it. And it's really a question. The key is this win-win philosophy. The key is collecting the data. So we get the management data. What do they need out of this? We get the employees. We survey the employees, confidential surveys, to find out their lifestyles, their commuting distances, their church attendances, whatever the issues are that might affect their lifestyle and what they can work and not work. And then based on that, we can present that data back to the whole group. So one of the ways we learned early on is that when you go to any organization, any workforce, there'll be and you meet with a whole group of people in a room, there'll be one very loud person making a very loud views known. We don't go by that. We say, look, we're going to listen to everybody. And it's often that person is out of tune with everybody else, or no one else wants to confront him or her. So basically, yes, no, it's done by having the data, systematically planning, making sure you've got a good business case for management, business case for the workforce and what you're doing. And some things require major change. Like, for example, here's what's happening today. Big drive is to onshore manufacturing in the U.S. And as you know, all the tariffs policy of the current administration is aimed at doing that. Well, the problem is you can't build a major plant and get it up and running, and that takes years and years and years. Probably, but we wouldn't actually be running until towards the end of the administration. What you can do is expand the hours you're working. So if you're working 5 days a week, 3 shifts or 2 shifts, we can help a company expand to seamless 168 hours a week. In other words, true 24/7.
And as you're working today, because I know you've been operating for a while, what does success look like for you in 6 to 12 months? Like, where do you want to go? And as we're at the end of our podcast here, where can people connect with you and learn more? So I think you released a book as well. Is that correct? Okay. Well, thank you for sharing today and for being on the podcast. Thank you for your time.